There comes a time in every World of Warcraft player's career where old feels new, new feels old, and you just lose the luster of what was once a grand adventure. Some of my friends would tell you that I'm a rabid PvPer. Some of my friends might tell you that I'm Kranda, the Runesguard barbarian, conqueror for the Horde, war rider extraordinaire. Some of those friends don't know that I tire of the same old thing, day after day, year after year. Oh yes, the patches might come and go with their new fancy things and promises of tomorrow, but we all know down the line that the grind will always be the same. So, what do we do about it, you might ask? You know, Orgrimmar has been my home for about 18 years now. The sights, the sounds, they never change. But the people, always new people. Some of my friends are still here playing this game. Some of my friends have moved on to different adventures. Maybe that's what I'll do. But first, let's take a walk through Orgrimmar. Do you remember the first time you walked through Orgrimmar? Down these cobblestone paths? Maybe ran through the drag, picked up a group to Ragefire Chasm. Ragefire Chasm. Haven't been there in a while. Maybe that could suffice for a little bit of adventure. How many of you remember running around this city, picking up quests with no inclination of where to go or even what to do? How many of you remember the first time you died and fought like hell to get back to your corpse? Would you say that it was a fun time? Did you enjoy doing something like that? There are places in this game that will always remain the same to me. But there are also places that just don't feel like home anymore. Perhaps it's time for something new. What was that? I don't feel right. And I'm a dwarf? Oh no, this can't be good. Not only am I a dwarf, but I'm a dwarf with an exposed midriff. Ah. This is Pantheon. What's Pantheon, I find you asking? Well, remember back in 2014 when a little game called EverQuest Next was on the horizon? Well, this game is made by the offshoots of Sony Online Entertainment under the spearheading of one Brad McQuaid. Yes, my friends, this is EverQuest 1.5. At least, that's what people say it is. Now, for those among you who never set foot in Norath, you might be finding yourself asking, what does this have to do with World of Warcraft? Why is this better than World of Warcraft right now? What are the differences between this MMO and the highly polished, stylized MMO that you were just playing? Well, I'll tell you. First off, let me be clear. This game is an EA, and I don't mean it's EA to attract more people into it. It is a solid and polished product. No. There is a lot of testing and a lot of iterations that will be going on in the next 2 years. But let's start off with the good things. First, there's climbing, as I'm about to show you right now. You can basically walk up to any cliffside that looks like this, latch onto it, and climb all the way up. There's a lot of verticality in this game. There's a lot of hidden bosses, hidden items, even treasures inside dungeons that might just be up that ledge, and all you have to do is explore to find it. Next up, we have lighting. So, lighting, as you may figure out, means it gets dark, and you do need a torch to get around it. And there are even different mobs and different quests that can be done only during the night. It's a wonderful, crazy situation, and it just makes the game that more dangerous. Speaking of danger, next up we have the consideration system. Target a mob, press C, and you'll receive a little flavor text that is colored. Those colors mean just how dangerous a mob might be. Red being the most dangerous, and gray meaning it's a trivial matter. Next, we have group mobs. So, when was the last time you ever had to form a group for a group mob? I bet it's been a while, right? Well, these mobs can and will kill you. Once you're in a down state, where your bar turns purple, you'll only have a few seconds to either receive a heal or die. Once you're dead, you can receive first aid and get back into the fight, but be wary, your health will be very low. So, what exactly happens when you experience a wipe? Well, you run back. Hopefully, you were smart enough to find a bindstone beforehand, otherwise the run back is going to be very long. Healers don't get an XP res until about 8, and then they don't get a good one until 16. So, there's a lot of running, a lot of waiting, and a lot of pushing back to where your corpse was just looted. Oh, did I mention? Your corpse has all of your loot. Well, not all of it. There are a few things that say lifebound in the game, and those will stay with you, no matter where you are. So here I'm about to show you what is called dragging. You can run up to a corpse, hit /drag, and drag the corpse with you wherever you go. But you need permission from the person first. So if they're not online, they won't respond. And some won't respond because they're either leaving their corpses there for a reason or waiting to get an XP res. Your mileage will vary for this, but most of the people that I've dragged out from wherever they are seem fairly happy for the experience. It's about here where I message this person and tell them where I left their corpse. It's kind of important to let someone know where they can loot their stuff. Alright, let's get into leveling. Leveling can be done in one or two ways, solo or with a group. Solo play is a lot more challenging than you might expect, and there are a few classes in this game that would be considered group-only classes, meaning that they have a hell of a time against mobs of any variety, even dark blue and lower. I'm not going to tell you outright what these are, but rogue. Moving on. So group mobs. Group mobs are the chevron mobs that I mentioned before. They have this nice little white chevron when you click on them, and they're usually in camps that you'll find parties at almost constantly in this game. Now, parties are a size of 6. Sometimes you can do 5 depending on the group makeup, but you may want 6 just in case, and everyone shares the same amount of experience, so it doesn't really hinder you at all if you do 6 or 5. Moving on to dungeons. Now, dungeons are a little bit different. They're not instanced, meaning that if you walk into a dungeon and another group walks into that dungeon, you're in the same dungeon. They're planning to have dungeon bosses which are instanced, so that sounds like it's going to be a good time. But other than that, you might run into problems with other groups pulling, other groups running away from the mobs that they pulled, etc., etc. So be on your toes, be prepared, and if that other group isn't in your guild, you might moving on. I'm actually going to save the rest for a future video, and it's up to you watching to decide if this kind of video where I roleplay getting used to Pantheon and explaining the game continues, by telling me if you liked it in the comments below. Speaking of comments, if you enjoyed this video but want something else, please let me know. It really helps me to decide what kind of content I'll focus on in the future. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. I also stream live almost daily on twitch.tv/SirWormbait. And if you'd like to take supporting me a step further, please consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon.